Do you know that feeling? The feeling of giving your everything to a single dream. For years, that was my life. My dream was a government job. I saw it as the ultimate destination for a stable and secure future. My days were a blur of coaching classes, thick textbooks, and countless mock tests. I studied history, geography, mathematics, general knowledge, everything the syllabus demanded. I sacrificed parties with friends, family functions, and simple moments of joy. My world became very small, confined to the four walls of my study room, with the single-minded goal of cracking the one exam that promised a lifetime of security. I was running a race, a marathon with millions of other hopefuls, all chasing the same finish line. The results came again and again, and each time they brought the same message: not selected. It felt like a punch to the gut. The first time I told myself it was just a minor setback. The second time, doubt began to creep in. By the third attempt, the weight of failure was crushing. I saw the disappointment in my parents' eyes. I heard the whispers of relatives, and I felt the immense pressure of a society that equates government jobs with success. It felt like I had wasted the most crucial years of my youth chasing a mirage. I was lost, confused, and my confidence was completely shattered. I started to question my own abilities, my intelligence, and my worth. The world around me seemed to be moving forward. My friends were getting jobs, starting their careers, and building their lives. I, on the other hand, felt stuck in a loop of preparation and failure. The dream that once inspired me now felt like a heavy chain holding me down. The frustration was immense. It wasn't just about not getting a job, it was about feeling like a complete failure in the eyes of everyone, including myself. Waking up each morning became a struggle because there was no excitement, only the dread of facing another day of uncertainty. I had hit rock bottom, and I truly did not know which way to turn. This period of darkness, however, forced me to do something I hadn't done in years. Stop and think. Was this the only path to success? Was a government job the only definition of a good life? The pain of failure became a catalyst for change. It forced me to look beyond the narrow path I had set for myself. It was in this moment of absolute despair that a tiny spark of a new idea began to flicker. I realized that my life was my own, and I had the power to write a new chapter. The failure was not the end of my story, it was simply the end of one path, pushing me to find another, more exciting one. One evening, while aimlessly scrolling through the internet, I stumbled upon stories of people who had changed their careers completely. People from arts, commerce, and even non-technical backgrounds were becoming software engineers. This caught my attention. I saw a world where your degree didn't matter as much as your skills. A world where what you could do was more important than what you had studied in college. The idea was fascinating. It was a world built on logic, creativity, and problem solving. A stark contrast to the rote memorization I had been doing for my exams. It felt fresh, dynamic, and full of possibilities. I started digging deeper. I watched videos, read blogs, and joined online communities. I learned that software engineering was not some secret magic reserved for geniuses from top engineering colleges. It was a skill, and like any other skill, it could be learned with dedication and the right approach. The more I learned, the more excited I became. Here was a field where you could build things from scratch. You could create websites, mobile apps, and software that millions of people could use. The thought of creating something tangible and impactful was incredibly empowering. It was the complete opposite of the passive learning I had been doing. The decision was not easy. It meant starting from zero. It meant admitting to myself and to others that my previous path was a dead end. But this time, the fear was different. It was mixed with a powerful sense of hope and excitement. I decided to take a leap of faith. I chose to pivot from the world of government exams to the world of software development. My mindset shifted from, I need to pass an exam, to I need to build a skill. This change in perspective was everything. It put the control back in my hands. I was no longer waiting for an exam result to define my fate. I was actively building my own future, one line of code at a time. The first step was to change my environment and my routine. I uninstalled all the government exam prep apps from my phone. I packed away the thick history and polity books. In their place, I bookmarked websites like Free Code Camp and subscribed to YouTube channels that taught programming. My study table, once cluttered with previous year's question papers, now had a simple laptop and a notepad for writing code. It was a symbolic and powerful change. I was consciously choosing a new direction, a new identity. I was no longer just a government exam aspirant. I was on my way to becoming a software developer. My journey into the world of coding began with a simple foundational step, choosing a language. After some research, I decided to start with JavaScript. Why? Because it is the language of the web. You can use it for the front end, what users see, and the back end, the server-side logic. I enrolled in a comprehensive web development bootcamp on Udemy, which cost me less than a single reference book for my old exams. The course started with the absolute basics, HTML for structure and CSS for styling. I learned how to create a simple web page, how to add colors, fonts, and layouts. It was magical to write a few lines of text and see a real web page come to life in my browser. After getting comfortable with HTML and CSS, I dived headfirst into JavaScript. This was the real challenge. It involved learning about variables, functions, loops, and conditional logic. There were moments of frustration when my code wouldn't work, and I would spend hours trying to find a missing semicolon. But the feeling of finally solving a problem was incredibly rewarding. I made it a point to code every single day. Even if it was just for an hour, consistency was my mantra. I supplemented my course with free resources like YouTube tutorials from channels like Travesty Media and the Net Ninja, and practiced solving small problems on websites like HackerRank to sharpen my logic. Once I had a good grasp of the fundamentals, I moved on to learning a framework. I chose React.js, a popular JavaScript library for building user interfaces. This is where things started to get serious. I learned how to build complex, interactive applications. My main project was to build a clone of a popular e-commerce website. This project was my resume. It wasn't just about watching tutorials, it was about building something real. I learned about state management, APIs, and how to connect my front-end application to a back-end service. This project taught me more than any course ever could because it forced me to solve real-world problems. The final and most crucial step was building my portfolio and resume. I created a simple portfolio website to showcase my projects. For each project, I wrote a detailed description of what it did, the technologies I used, and the challenges I faced. My resume didn't have an engineering degree, but it had a link to my GitHub profile and my portfolio, filled with tangible proof of my skills. I started applying for internships and entry-level developer jobs. The interview process was tough, focusing on data structures and algorithms, but my daily practice paid off. After a few rejections, I finally landed my first job as a junior software engineer. If you are reading this and feeling lost after your battle with government exams, I want you to hear this loud and clear. You are not a failure. You are simply at a turning point. The dedication, discipline, and hard work you developed during your preparation are your superpowers. You already know how to study for long hours and stay focused. Now, you just need to channel that incredible energy in a new direction. The world of technology does not care about your past degree or your exam scores. It only cares about one thing. Can you solve problems with code? And the answer to that is a resounding yes, you can learn to do that. Forget the myth that you need to be a math genius or have a B.Tech degree to become a software engineer. That is simply not true. Today, the most valuable degree is the skill you possess. I have seen colleagues who were previously teachers, accountants, and artists. Their diverse backgrounds bring unique perspectives to the table. What they all have in common is a passion for learning and a persistent attitude. The path is clear and accessible to everyone. You don't need to spend lakhs on a fancy degree. You can start learning for free right now from the comfort of your home. All you need is a laptop and an internet connection. So, where do you begin? Start small. Don't get overwhelmed by the sheer number of technologies out there. Pick one language like Python or JavaScript. Both are beginner-friendly and in high demand. Go to freecodecamp.org or the Odin Project. They provide a complete structured curriculum for free. Watch beginner-friendly tutorials on YouTube. The key is to not just watch, but to code along. Build small, silly projects. Create a simple calculator. Make a to-do list app. Each small victory will build your confidence and motivate you to learn more. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Your first step starts today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. Open your browser and search for a beginner's guide to HTML. Spend just 30 minutes on it. That's all it takes to start. The path ahead will have its challenges, moments of doubt and frustrating bugs. But trust me, the feeling of creating something with your own mind and hands is one of the most satisfying feelings in the world. You have the power to change your life. Your past does not define your future. Take that first step. Your new journey is waiting for you. Azan Hai, it's easy.